Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We are on day 4 of the Count It All Joy. So good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It is day 4 of Count It All Joy, 30 days of faith and gratitude. And yes, we are on day 4. So I'm uber excited about this fourth day. Uber excited about this particular topic, and I'm really grateful for the individuals that have been joining in every day, who've been encouraging me, who have been pushing me, who've been sending me inboxes and DMs. Because, baby, okay, it's been a thing. But if you are tuning in, say hey, talk back to me this morning so I know you are here. I know it's a holiday. So some of y'all wanted to sleep in. I did too, but I felt like I needed to get this done so that we did not potentially miss a day. So being consistent. There's some people that I've watched be consistent online that I've really come to admire. So I want to be consistent too. And so today, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Joy Pittman. I am the founder of a firm called HR for the Culture. I'm the founder of When Faith Meets Strategy. And so HR for the Culture is how I operate in the marketplace. When Faith Meets Strategy, I believe, is my ministry assignment. And so I'm going to operate in both because I think they are connected and they're both part of kingdom. And so God wants us to build the kingdom, not just behind the walls and not just outside the walls, but he wants us to be able to be effective in both places so that people everywhere can learn of him and lift him up. So we have been in a couple of different scriptures. We are going back to James. I think we started out in James 1, or James 1 was like our focus scripture. James 1, verse 2 was really our main focus. 2 through 4. And so I'm going to read it again in the NIV version. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. And if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." So we were looking at James, and we started this like count it all joy. When we go through hard moments, count it all joy. And God actually began to deal with me because, and I shared a little bit of it last night in a post, has been dealing with me about this process of going through trials and going through testings is not really about us just tucking our head down and just waiting on God to move it, or just holding ourselves steady and just plastering a smile on our face and just waiting for God to do something better. It is actually a process that is intended to perfect us, to make us better. It actually says that when it has its perfect work, we be mature and we be complete, lacking nothing, right? And so I really started then thinking about just different areas of my life where, for those of you that know, that have followed me at all, 2022 was a doozy. My mom passed at the end of 2021. 2022 is when we actually had our services. Then I went through a relationship breakup. Then my grandmother, I was helping to caregiving for my grandmother. Then that had some issues with family members. And then I got down to the end of 2022, my grandmother passed away. So 2022 was just like a year of back-to-back stuff, right? And for some reason, I had just figured in my mind, I would just get through 2022. Like if I just bed down and got through 2022, some kind of way we were going to turn the corner and 2023 was just going to be better, right? Good morning. And is that Angela? Good morning, Angela. Right. So I just, in my mind, if I just sucked it up and I bed down, the next year was going to roll over and it was going to be better. I was going to wait out the bad times, right? I wasn't really dealing with anything. I wasn't unpacking anything. I wasn't necessarily praying about anything other than like when I got really overwhelmed, I would just be like, God, help me type of prayers. But I wasn't really thinking about the things. I just kept I kept cerebrally, kind of like numbly moving through stuff, just moving through things. And what I started thinking about last night, and I've been thinking about the last couple of days, is that over this last couple of weeks, things have been bubbling up. Good morning, Cynthia. Things have been bubbling up for me in myself that I do not like. Different thoughts, different feelings, different reactions, different emotions to things have been coming to surface, and I don't like it. Like, I don't like that I felt that way. I don't like that that was my first thought. I don't like that that was my first reaction. And I started feeling bad about it. I started being like, God, like, what is happening? And, I'm supposed to be Joy. My mama named me Joy. I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be. And he began to show me that this is the process of faith and perseverance having its perfect work, because we cannot get to perfection. We cannot get to being whole and mature if we don't allow God, or allow ourselves, one, to acknowledge the stuff that bubbles up. And then if we don't allow God to actually deal with the stuff that comes up, right? So jealousy, resentment, envy, pride, all those things that start to bubble up when we are in tight moments, when we're in hard moments, those are not things that's supposed to indicate a negative thing about us. We don't have to be ashamed of those things. That is the process of purification. So to make it like bring home, I am now like not eating certain things, and I started having a breakout on my face because I started drinking more water. And of course, like nobody wants to break out. Like I be proud of my skin being good skin, right? But as I started thinking about what it meant, it was an indicator that impurities that were inside of me, my skin looked fine on the outside, but there were things that were impure inside of me that me drinking more water and increasing my vegetable intake was pushing out to the surface. And so, yes, it looked ugly. Yes, I have bumps on my face. Yes, I have things going on that don't look right, that I want to hide and I want to cover up. But again, it goes back to the scripture that that thing was an indicator, right? Count it all joy. It's an indicator that the things that are in you, God is pushing out, and he's pushing out those impurities and pushing out those things that really make us feel, right, sometimes ashamed of ourselves, or recoil of the things that we mask and hide under service and under smiles and under, positive commentary and under, to God be the glory. The stuff that we hide underneath ritual, right, and religion, right, and false humility and dishonesty. We hide some of those true feelings under that because it's ugly to look at. And so God is saying to us in this particular season that he knows our hearts. And he's concerned about our heart matters. He's concerned about our insides being clean. He's concerned about our insides being good. Good morning, Tanea. So while again, it says that man looks at the outward appearance, God knows the heart. We look at that sometimes as like, man, look at the outside, but God knows my heart. Yeah, he does. He absolutely does, and he's concerned. So while man sometimes is able to be fooled by how pious we look and how we look externally and how kind and gentle, God knows our thought process. God knows what our heart is saying in that moment when we're doing the thing. God knows when we're outwardly serving, but in our heart, we're a little annoyed, or we're a little miffed, right, by the fact that we have to do it. God knows that. And what he is trying to do, he is trying to move us to a place of perfection. So when he says, consider it pure joy when you come into trials of many kind, because now he is getting you in a place of perfecting you and getting you ready for what is coming. The scripture even talks about when any tree that bears fruit, the Father purges it so it can bring forth more fruit. So just understanding, even as you're purging, even as things are being seemingly taken away from you, that is God saying, hey, I see you. I recognize you as a fruit-bearing tree. Let me help you, right, produce even more. But the pruning part, like, God, if you want me to produce more, why are you cutting away? Why are you cutting away from me if you want me to produce more? Why are you taking away from me if you want me to produce more? Why are you removing things from me? But if we look biblically, he never multiplied anybody in what they already were sitting in as their own personal abundance. Abraham had to leave, right, his family to go find abundance. Joseph had to leave the comfort of his father doting on him and loving on him to go be in a hard place so that he could come into what he needed to come into. Some of us have gone through these prunings and purgings because in order for us to bring forth more, God has to cut away all the stuff that is counter. So we're in areas in our lives where I got all this stuff growing, but God identifies the fruit that he wants to grow in us. God identifies that particular part of the tree is good. This particular fruit is what I want it to look like. So let me cut away the other stuff. Let me move away the stuff that's not growing or not healthy or not moving the way I want it to move, so that the stuff that is healthy and right and growing. Good morning, Kashana and Erica. Right? That stuff can grow perfectly and grow correctly so that we can have it. So we are stressed and overwhelmed by what God is cutting back. And what God is saying is, let me cut back all the fluff. Let me cut back all the extra leaves and the extra branches. Let me cut back the things that are actually going to drain all of the water and all the nutrients going to the part that is growing, that is producing good fruit. that is producing the right fruit. Some of us got so many things connected to us that the watering and the nutrients, right, that are supposed to be going to the good fruit is going everywhere else. So the good fruit that he wants to multiply can't get the nutrients because we got our branches pulling in every direction, pulling moisture, pulling nutrients in every single direction rather than where God wants us to focus. So I even had to process that in my business, in my team, in my friend circle. Why do I feel like God is purging and pulling people away and pulling things back and taking people out of process? Because he wants our focus and our energy to be going into the fruit that he wants to see from us. So what is already bearing in your business? You may feel like, why are certain type of customers going away? Why are certain projects going away? Why? Because he wants you to refine and get laser focused on what it is in your ministry. Why certain types of people? Why certain types of things? Right? Why we not getting into certain types of doors? Why certain doors closing? Yes, it may be closing and they think they're closing doors for a reason, but God is saying, no, I am laser sharp, pointing you and aligning you into the things, because in the abundance of all the noise, we think we are being progressive. Some of us think that busy and aligned means the same thing. If I'm doing a bunch of things, I'm in alignment. And sometimes all of those things are actually pulling us out of alignment because we are so fractured in our focus that we're not drilling in. Sometimes options create opportunities for us to go in the wrong direction. Right? If I get to a crossroad and there's 5 different ways I can go, there's options for 4 different directions that are the wrong way. So God sometimes is narrowing our focus, removing the opportunities that we say, Lord, close the doors that you don't want closed. Then all the doors close. And you're like, wait a minute, Lord, I didn't know if I meant that literally. But he starts closing all the doors. Why? So we start identifying the new doors, identifying what are the windows, where should we be going in through the roof, what are the new opportunities. So when we start thinking about it, it's a place to be grateful, right? It's a place to be grateful because God is working out something in us, right? So we start thinking about, let patience have its perfect work, that she may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Right? So there are 3 things that we need to be looking at and talking to God about and holding before him as we are going through this process. God perfect us, God complete us, and make us deficit in nothing. Make us deficient in nothing. Make us deficient in nothing. God, I want to be perfect, I want to be complete, and I don't want to be deficient in any area. Right? So now that we're honing in, a lot of times we are asking God to get us out of the situation. Change the circumstance, change the problem, move the event, right? God, move it. God, fix it. God, just help me to get through this. God, just carry me through. Just get me through. No, God, perfect me completely and take away every deficiency out of my life. Take away and remove every area of deficiency. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes in order for him to do that, he has to put us through a process that makes it all bubble up to the top, that makes it all come to the surface. Why? Because we can't clean away. We can't even begin to get rid of what we are not aware of. We cannot get rid of what we are not aware of. And God doesn't just go inside our hearts and snatch things out. At times, he will allow things to bubble up and come to surface so that we can address them, so we can acknowledge them, so we can bring them before him in prayer, so we can then, oh God, begin to focus our mind and focus our heart on, God, get this out of me. God, I don't want to think like this. I don't want to be aligned like this. Move this out the way. But we can't address what we're not aware of. And the awareness is not for us to go run and hide in shame. The awareness is not for us to beat ourselves up. It is to say, God, thank you for showing me that. Right? When they talk about refining gold or precious metals, they put it through a heating process and it boils and boils. But what happens is the dross or the impurities come to the top and then it gets skimmed away. Right? So the skimming process be the easiest part. The stuff getting just skimmed away be the easiest part. It's the boiling and the heat that brings everything to surface, that brings everything up. When we even think about Job, Job goes through a process and we think that Job is the perfect man. But as we get to the certain part of the story, we start to see when Job starts questioning, God comes back to Job and he's like, listen, who are you? I'm God, right? So we even begin to understand, I don't know, and I don't want to add to the story, but I'm sure that Job's accomplishments and Job having all these blessings had insulated him in a way, had got him in a way where there was maybe a little bit of him thinking that, you know what, I'm good and I deserve some of this stuff, right? I'm good, so I deserve good things to happen to me. I'm doing good things. So God began to test his things. And so when Job starts questioning, talking to God, like, God had to say to him, like, who are you to question me? No matter what I do, even when I'm blessing you or harming you, I am God. Whether I'm doing good or not. So you don't only get to question me. You don't get to question me because things are not going in the way you want them to go. Right? And this was Job. Job was an example of a good man. So even the good of us, right, always still have something that God can still pull out and show us about ourselves so that we can be in a better place. Okay? It says, so the testing of our faith produces perseverance. And when I looked up the word perseverance, and we almost done, it says persistence in doing something despite the difficulty or delay in achieving success. So here's what happens. We have faith. Faith now, right? So now we got to realize that embedded in faith is delay or difficulty. I don't have to believe for something that I have. I'm not believing God for a computer because the computer's sitting in front of me. I'm talking to you on it. I'm not believing God for my glasses. They on my face. So our faith doesn't come in for something that's an instant gratification. Our faith is not meant to be applied to something that's going to automatically drop in our laps. Our faith comes or is applied in things that are going to either be difficult or delayed. Faith comes to help us move through moments where the thing that God has promised us is either going to be difficult or it's going to be delayed. So you got to get your mind ready. If God is telling me to build my faith, if God is moving me to increase my faith, if God is saying I got to trust him more, I got to lean in more, then what I'm about to go through is not going to be easy or instant. It will be difficult and delayed. However, he is getting me ready. I want you to think about, right, a marathon. Nobody that runs a marathon, I have a friend on here, I don't know if she's still here, Cynthia. She does like marathons and runs. I have a couple friends in my network that do marathons and runs. Nobody goes marathoning without understanding that they have to prepare for it. The preparation process, I've heard people even losing their toenails in preparing for marathons. Their bodies go through a lot in preparing. Why? Because what they're about to do, they already know that what they're about to do is difficult. So they are preparing themselves to rise to the challenge of the difficulty, right? People that go on long trips, if you ever took a car ride to a far place, right? I grew up, we drove down south. The chicken and the bread, the chicken sandwiches that they used to fry the drumsticks and put them in a piece of white bread. Like all the stuff that would happen. Why? Because we were kids going on a trip with our parents. Our parents knew it was going to be a long trip. There would be delay. So whenever you are walking into something difficult or delayed, you know to prepare for it. Faith is saying, I'm getting you ready. I'm holding you up and sustaining you for something that will be difficult or delayed. Here's the thing. The difficulty or the delay do not minimize the joy of the outcome. The difficulty of training for a marathon and getting through a marathon do not harm or take away from what you experience when you cross the finish line. The longness of the drive does not change anything about the satisfaction or the relief that you get when you get there. As a matter of fact, the difficulty and the delay make the destination so much more enjoyable and pleasant because of what you had to go through. So God is getting us ready. He's building us up in our faith because some of us are going to be walking into promises that are not immediate or easy to walk into. Some of us are walking into ministries, business endeavors, right? Family shifts, all kinds of things that are not meant to take us out. They're just not going to be easy. They're not going to be easy transitions. They're not going to be light weights to carry. So God is building us up and developing us in this moment so that we can navigate it. But as he's doing it, right, he's like, hey, I'm not just delaying you for no reason. I'm not just delaying you because I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm not just delaying it and making it hard because I'm bored. In the process of you getting there, I am perfecting you. I am purifying you. I'm making you complete. I'm making you whole. And I'm making you deficient in no area. Right? So genuine faith produces our ability to go through things, right, that are hard or difficult. That perseverance matures us. It makes us mature as believers. And so what we have to be making sure that we're not doing is just getting through, letting time pass, letting the clock click around so we just get to the new place, so we can just hurry up and get in there. But God, let me be perfected. Let me be mature enough so that when I get into this area, right, I am in it, and I'm in it without all the wants, without all the issues. When we look at Joseph's entire process, moves him into a place where now he's in a seat of maturity. Do you think that if Joseph wasn't mature enough when his brothers showed up in need, he wouldn't have ruined it? Joseph's whole journey was about the posterity and the continuing of his lineage, right, in a place of prosperity. His whole journey was about getting his family to Egypt. But if he did not let the process take him through what he needed to get through, if it didn't let him bubble up and surface the things, if he didn't go to the prison, if he didn't go to those areas and really get purified, if he only kind of sat in what he was dealing with as a kid, right? Like, oh, I'm just going to be a ruler over y'all. Yep, if his father had kept making him the favorite, if all those things had kept happening, right, he wouldn't have possibly been in a place of maturity to then welcome his brothers in or even provide for his family in the way that he was, or be able to even make sure that an entire kingdom or generation of people, right, were able to be sustainable. And what he did, what he matured into, was actually like a positive story for his entire nation for years. But it took the processing. So I want to encourage somebody, again, we went back to this count it all joy, but our prayer focus is, God, make us complete. Perfect us, complete us, and take out the deficits. So as we are going through this process, the things that bubble up, submit them to prayer. Make a list. Make a list. You see that person walk by and you like, and you roll that moment, write it down. God, why was I jealous? Why was I envious? What was that showing me about that person? Somebody else has a moment of something good happened to them, and you like, I wish it was me. Acknowledge that moment. Write it down. He's bringing it to surface. People around you winning, and you like, Lord, I can't rejoice with them. Write it down. Make a note of the things, not a negative laundry list against yourself, but these are the things that we want to take to God in prayer. Why? Because his desire is to mature us, to perfect us. We can't be carriers of blessing for other people if we're going to walk in pride and envy and comparison, right? We can't be a part of serving people if we're going to be envious of the people that we serve, if we're going to be mad when God blesses the people that we're praying for. We can't be intercessors. We can't be good intercessors if we're praying for people and then we are mad when God does the thing for them that we prayed for. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I have prayed for people. God bless them. God heal whatever. And then that thing happened. And then I'm like, well, you ain't healed my person. God has to deal with that. Why? Because we can't walk in our callings and our giftings if our flesh is going to be in a constant pushback against the thing that God is asking us to do spiritually. So yes, our flesh is always going to be in contention with our spirit, but we have to start to identify what are those things in us. So I need to be able to not have enough in my bank account and pray for somebody else's prosperity and their check clear and I'll be happy for them. Why? Because patience has had its perfect work. Because I understand that my season is coming. My time will be there. We talked about yesterday, right? When we looked at, that wasn't yesterday. I forget which day it was, but we talked about Jairus, right? It might have been yesterday. Jairus, might have been Saturday. We talked about Jairus. Jairus is on his way with Jesus to go heal his daughter, and the woman with the issue of blood comes up. Jairus is an official in the temple. His daughter dying though. This lady been bleeding all this time, Jesus. She could bleed another few days. My daughter is dying. Jesus stops and deals with her issue. Jairus had to be mature enough to allow somebody else to be blessed while his blessing was pending, and had to have enough faith. That's what Jesus said to him. They came and told your daughter dead. Don't worry. Keep your faith in line. Because I cannot just heal her. I can resurrect her too. We have to be okay with being able to watch other people be blessed while our blessing is pending. While our situation looks like it is dying, he's healing somebody else. He's making somebody else whole. We have to be okay to be able to be grateful for their blessing while ours is pending, because the same God can bless us and do something for us too. He's calling us to a place of maturity. For those of us that know that we are called to impact ministry and marketplace, we are going to have to operate in a world where God is going to be blessing folks while our stuff is pending. He's going to be doing good things for people while it looks like we're not getting what we want. We're going to pray for some people and their people going to get healed and our people going to go. That's the nature of this beast. We're going to be believing with somebody for their baby while we waiting for ours to even try to have one. Some of us will be sitting in what feels like we can't even produce anything while we helping other people be productive. both in the natural and the spiritual. Some of us are going to be believing God for healings and things for other people that we didn't necessarily see in our own lives and circumstances. And we have to be mature enough to understand that God has a plan and a design for each of us, so I can be complete and I can be whole and I can be deficit of nothing, while seeing somebody else be blessed in a different kind of way than I was blessed. And I can have that level of maturity and wholeness. That is what God is calling us to. He's calling us to whether I find myself abased or abound, right? I'm content. I've learned to be content in my relationship with God. Why? Because there is an end game beyond this material stuff. There is a higher calling beyond the stuff that we see right here on the surface, right? So those are things. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been going through a season of things in my life that I'm asking God for, seeing other people experience it. The things that I've been praying about, watching other people experience the things that I've asked God for. And God has been dealing with me about, check that. Yep. What about that? Yep. What about that? Why do you feel that way about that? Why did that trigger that in you? Why did that? He's been pulling it up. And I'm like, God, like I can't, like he getting me, like I can't get a break, because something is coming. Because something is coming down the way. Because something is coming in the path. And I have to be able to be a conduit of God's blessing. I have to be able to be a carrier of what God wants to get to somebody else without trying to hoard all the blessings to myself. I have to be careful and comfortable to be able to give to other people, right? And be a conduit of their blessing, to pray somebody else through, to nurture somebody else into a good place, to give to somebody else that already look like they got surplus, if that's what God is telling me to do. Some of us are great with helping people that have less than us. But when we encounter people that have more than us and God tells us to sow into them, we like, what you mean? They already got 2 pocketbooks. And we don't know. God has to get that out of us. Get the jealousy, get the envy, get the lust, get the low self-esteem, right? Get the bitterness, get the hurt, get the stuff out of us. Why? Because we can't walk into the promises carrying that stuff. We can't walk into what God has for us carrying that stuff. He wants us to be in a good place, right? His desire for us is that we are mature and complete, lacking nothing. God wants me mature and complete and without any deficits and without any low areas in my life. God wants that for me. And then it says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it'll be given to you. So when I looked at that, it's like, now when these things come up, if I'm lacking wisdom, if I don't understand, if I'm missing understanding in an area, God, why is it like this? Why am I like this? He said, go ask him. He won't find fault with you. Some of us, right, we think we got to unpack on people all the time. We got to tell somebody, yeah, girl, I was in service the other day, and I looked over at so-and-so, and her shoe was leaning, and I was like, her shoe shouldn't be lit. We don't got to unpack with everybody all the time. You ain't got to tell everybody about the thing that you thought. Everybody can't handle knowing that you thought that thought. Everybody can't process knowing that you had that feeling in that moment. Sometimes we have to go to God. Why? Because he doesn't judge us. It says that he will not find fault. He won't find fault in the areas that we don't have wisdom, right? He won't find fault with us. It says that he will absolutely explain the things, right? And he'll give us the wisdom that we are seeking. So our prayer focus today, God, is make us mature and complete and without deficit. And in that prayer, we have to be knowledgeable. Before it says, before a man build a house, we count the cost. We have to be mindful that in asking God for that, that may mean that he's going to bring some things to surface. That may mean he's going to process us through some stuff. That may mean he's going to unpack some stuff that we wasn't ready to deal with. That may mean that he's going to show us a little bit more about our character, a little bit more about our integrity. That may mean if he's taking us to wealth, he may show us, hey, what is your integrity like with money when you don't know that you have enough? Some of us are good with money when we have a surplus. Do you operate in the same financial integrity when you don't think you got enough in the bank account? Do you get a little sketchy? Do you get a little funny? Some of us, we are able to be happy and rejoice with other people as long as we're rejoicing. But if we're not rejoicing, we don't want them rejoicing either. Some of us are good with everybody being cool as long as we good with everybody. The moment we not good with somebody, we don't want nobody else. We only want to be peacemakers when we're at peace. When somebody did something to us, we lose our ability to be peacemakers. Now we want everybody at odds with each other because we're not happy with the person. Right? We want stuff to grow when we in it, right? I even had to catch myself around serving and around being a servant and helping people to make sure that as the work that you put in becomes fruitful and the place grows and you're not as necessary no more, can you handle as other gifts, other abilities, other talents are coming in, or does that trigger your need to be needed? Right? Bring that all to surface for me. Make sure that as I'm serving from a pure heart. I'm not serving because I want to be necessary. I'm not serving in sabotage. I'm not serving but making stuff where it only work if I do it, so nobody else can ever do it, so that I'm always going to be needed. How am I serving? Am I serving from a place of I want this to grow, or am I serving because I want to be centered? I want somebody to keep telling me thank you. Am I trying to set things up in a way where it works if I'm not even there to do it? Or am I trying to bring everything back to myself? Am I giving? Am I giving so that I can be the biggest giver? Right? Am I Johnny on the spot because I just want to be needed? Or is God going to have to deal with that need in my heart of being needed and being centered? Why? So that do I always have to be right? Will I sabotage things just to show that I'm right? Am I sitting around like, I can't wait for it to fall apart so they can know that my way was the right way? What is in us? I'm talking about me. I don't know about y'all. These are things that God has had to process. And as they come up, I got to, right, because a lot of my value for a long time in my life had been on being smart. So being the smartest person in the room, being the person that can solve the issue, being Johnny on the spot. So what happens when they don't want your solution right now? What happens when they're not willing to embrace what you are recommending? Are you falling apart? God had to process that stuff in me. Right? That impatience. I need things to be done the way they need to move right now. God had to process that. And your process won't look like to other people what they think your process should look like based on what they think they know about you. So you have to be okay with allowing God to process you during different things and not letting people talk you out of your process. If God tell you the CEO of a company, but he tell you to go clean the bathrooms at your church, don't let nobody tell you, they got you here, clean the bathrooms, and you supposed to be a CEO. Baby, clean the bathrooms. You don't know what God is preparing for you. Don't let people talk in your ear and take you out of process because it don't look to them like you should be going through what you're going through. I wouldn't take that as if I was you. You not me. You not me. Right? We have to move through that stuff. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm telling my business. If it just connect, okay? Because God had to get me like, this is not just, you ain't just suck it up and get through. Come on, bear down. Just get through it. Put your hoodie on. Don't let nothing bother you. Just keep smiling. No. Yes, keep smiling, keep moving through, keep praying, keep processing, but don't even let that stuff sit in your mind. Many of us know we could be sitting in our mind struggling with a smile on our face. Meanwhile, our minds are spinning out of control. We envying, we jealous. Girl, you look so nice. Meanwhile, we mad, right? Some of us have learned how to do that. God like, nah, I want to get to that. I want to get to what you're thinking while you're smiling. I want to get to what your heart posture is while you're serving. I want to get to what you mean when you say that flattering thing out loud. I want to get to what's in your heart when you say it. Right? That's the maturity. I want to get to the root of it. I want to get to why you feel like you only valuable in this way. He wants to mature us. And sometimes what don't come out in the wash, come out in the rinse. Sometimes we have to be processed so we can actually get to the root of that stuff. Let patience have its perfect work. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete and lacking nothing. God loves us so much. He wants us mature and complete, and he doesn't want us deficit of anything, sitting any deficiencies, right? What a kind God we serve. What a good Father we have, that he wants us to be good. He wants us to be okay, right? Because those inner things, when we think about it, they're tormenting. Those things don't feel good. That envy, that jealousy, that comparative, it don't really feel good when it's in us. It's not free. We're not free when we're operating in those places. It doesn't make us feel good to know that that's in our hearts. Those of us that really want to be in a good place, like it bothers us when that stuff comes to surface. And so God is like, let it surface so I can clear it up. Let it come to surface. Let it come out so I can clear it up. And what I love about God is he allows these things to happen in a space that's controlled. He don't have us outside exposing us all over the sidewalk. The things that pop into our mind, that thought that comes up, we can pray right in that moment. God, that thought, I shouldn't have thought that, God. My friend Ricardo was talking to me the other day, and he was just saying, like, he's gotten to a place in God now where something come up like, God, you saw that? You saw that ugly thought? You saw that sideways look I gave? Like, it's almost like God see these things. Why? I don't want them. I don't want them. I don't want them. I literally do not want them. I don't want this stuff in me. Right? I don't want this stuff in me. I see some amazing, anointed, powerful folks on this live. I see Kashana and I see Paula, Cynthia, Angelette, right? I see individuals, some of you I know, Tanae, I know your business, some I don't. Johnny May, I see y'all in the comments, right? Taryn, people that are pushing through. Ty, right? I know some of y'all stuff. Some of y'all stuff I don't know. I didn't know who was going to join today, so this was not directed to y'all. But what I do know is that all of the people who I see on here, I don't see anybody on here that's not carrying something great. I don't see nobody on here that has some little baby, little around the way fillet situation going on, right? Everybody on here that I've seen whose name has popped up has something great that they are carrying, has something good that they are carrying. And we've all gone through our stuff, right? We have some areas of our lives where people are looking at it and they like, oh, I wish it was, and you know the backstory, you know the behind the scenes, you know the around the corner stuff that goes on in your life. Right? You know those moments. And God is saying, I know them too. I see them too. I see you. I care about you. Right? I know what you're dealing with. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. And count it as joy. Because what I am doing is perfecting you. Because we also got to remember, we're all doing this to live again. This is not all about the temporary stuff. It's not about the house, the car. It's not about running up the bag. That's the stuff that we are doing to have impact in the earth. But there is an after this. Like we look at Hebrews 11, it really talks about like they went through all that they went through. They journeyed through all that they journeyed because they understood that they were looking for another foundation whose builder, whose maker is God. If you go back to Hebrews 11, it's really one of my favorite scriptures, but it really talks about all this hallmark of faith. And then it says that they all died in faith, right? Having not received the promise, because God has some greater thing for us, that we be perfected in us. But it talks about the fact that they were able to keep going because it says each one of these people died in faith, right? Hebrews 11 and 13. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers in the earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they are thinking about the country they left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. Right? So we know God has prepared something greater for us. And so it's easy to get caught up in all this stuff down here. It's easy to be, yes, he promised me to be a millionaire. He promised me all the things, yes. And I'm holding on to those promises. But I know that there's a greater promise. That there's a greater ending. That there's a greater thing that God has designed and destined for me. So yes, while the things that he promised me in the earth, the marriage, the child, the family, all those things, it's a greater thing. I found a thing the other week I was going through missing my mom. And it's really blessed me. The wording stayed in my mind. The wording stayed in my mind. It said, she said, it was the year she passed away, early in that year. She wrote on Facebook a prayer. And she said that she believed that the children that God loaned to her. She prayed for the children that God loaned to her. And why that stuck with me is, we have to understand that while this stuff feels so connected, while it feels so important to us, all this stuff is temporal. All this stuff is temporal. So God doesn't even want us caught up and tied up and tangled up and choked up in these temporal things in such a way that we miss the bigger picture. That at some point she understood that even these kids, we were just on loan. that he given them to her, that we were loners, that we had to walk out our own path. And I want us to be remindful. I didn't mean to make nobody sad this morning, and I'm not crying over my mom, but it's the realization that all this stuff, we work hard for this stuff, but it's all temporal. That all this stuff is on loaner. There is a greater thing. There is a greater destination. There's a greater glory. There's a greater outcome. Right? There was a greater thing for us. So no matter how good what I'm in right now is, God has something greater, right? There is a city whose builder and maker is God. There's something that he has for those of us, right, that just hold on and lock in. So he's trying to perfect us, not for a house, not for a car, not for a business, but for the greater thing. For the greater thing, the marriages, the children, the prosperity, the ministry, the outreach, the elevations, the titles, the anointings. All that stuff is temporal. All that stuff we cannot take with us. There is a greater thing. There was a greater thing. And he wants us to be mindful that to get to the greater thing, there's a level of perfection that we must walk in. There's a level of completeness and wholeness that he wants for us. He doesn't want us lacking or deficient. He wants us to be able to understand there's a greater thing. There's an end game, right? So you start looking at even what they go through in that. I want everybody to commit. Please read Hebrews 11. Read it slow. Read it line upon line. Read it in a version that makes sense to you, right? Because there's something in us seeking a farther country. When you look at it, it says they didn't receive the promise, but it talks about Abraham. Abraham's promise was Isaac. So there was a promise and a promise. He said he got the promise, but there was something greater. All of us know, even when we get to the thing, you get to the business, you get to the thing, it's like, God, there's great. There's always a pulling for something greater. Why? Because he's calling us higher into what he has called us to. Our purpose is not this stuff. My purpose is not just when Faith Meets Strategy, HR for the Culture. My purpose is not, it is that he's, through these things, he's perfecting me and calling me higher. Because I have an encounter with him one day that I have to stand before. All of this is about my perfection and the perfecting of the saints. Why? So that we can all walk in the unity of the faith. Why? So that because there's something greater. There's something beyond this. I'm grateful for the temporal blessings. I'm grateful, but I know that this process that he has me on is more than him perfecting me for a house and a car and a bay. Right? There's something greater. So our faith is elevated. Let faith have its perfect work. Persevere in your faith. Be persistent. Right? Yes, it may be difficult. Yes, it may be delayed. But there's something in the process that is making us better. It's making us ready for what God has for us. We're going to pray out. Thank all of you for tuning in. For those of you that shared, those of you that engaged in the comments, thank you so much. If you haven't shared it and you think it's going to help somebody, I do ask that you please share it. Right? Some people, we're not comfortable sharing certain things on our timeline. I get it. Some of our timelines are dedicated to business and certain things. So if it's out of alignment with your timeline, I understand. But if it's something that you said, hey, I don't feel like comfortable sharing, but I don't mind tagging a few friends to catch the replay, do that. Not because I need to get it. And I always struggle with that ask. So it's not about going viral. But I do want people to be blessed if they should be. Right? I do want people that need something. Sometimes we like, that was good, and we log off. But you know there's people around you going through similar struggles. People around you that need similar help and similar support. Maybe something said today will help them. Feel free to share. We're going to pray out. Our prayer point today, God, make us mature and complete. So, God, we come before you, God, thankful, oh God, thankful and thankful and thankful. We always start our prayers, our conversations with you with gratitude because we understand that we are not entitled to your blessings. We're not entitled to your mercy. We're not entitled to your grace. We're not entitled to your hand of blessing, God. God, so we come to you, God, thankful. We come to you, God, appreciative of what you have given us. We even come to you, oh God, thankful for the word that you have unpacked, what you are building us into, what you are sharing with us, how you're already allowing the work to begin of maturing us and making us complete and making us whole and lacking and desiring nothing, God. So we thank you, oh God, that the work has already begun. And now that we're aware, God, that that is your plan, now that we are aware, oh God, that that is your intention and your purpose, God, we are complicit. We put ourselves in collaboration with your design. We say yes, oh God, to the process of being matured and perfected, oh God. We say yes, oh God, to the process that you're going to take us through, oh God, to make us deficient of nothing, oh God. God, we become complicit. We become co-conspirators and co-collaborators in this process that you're taking us through. And so, God, we say yes and we submit, oh God, to faith and patience, doing the work that it needs to be done, God. We say yes, oh God, to as you bring things to our surface, us bringing it back to you, God. We submit, oh God, to the purifying and the purging process, oh God, as things come up, God. God, show us, oh God, how to bring it to you. Give us the wisdom, God. You said if any man lacks wisdom, we can come to you and we would ask you for it and you would give it to us, God. So give us the wisdom on how to deal with the things that come to the surface. Give us the wisdom, oh God, on how to address, oh God, the issues that come up for us, oh God. God, give us the clarity of mind, oh God, to understand when you're showing us things, oh God. Not that you're showing us the things to condemn us or to hide or for us to hide ourselves, God, but you're bringing it before you, oh God, that you might, oh God, create a better space in us, or create a new heart in us, create a clean spirit in us, oh God. Renew, oh God, goodness in us, oh God. God, we thank you, oh God, then for every thought that comes up, oh God. God, we thank you, oh God, for everything, oh God, that manifests and surfaces itself, oh God. God, thank you, oh God, for showing us what is in us. Now we ask that your Holy Spirit be with us, that the things don't surface up and overwhelm us, oh God. But as they are coming up, we ask that your spirit, oh God, come right aside it, oh God, to show us, oh God, that your spirit make intercession for us, oh God, that your spirit be there, oh God, to guide us and to show us how to navigate and what to do and how to move through, oh God, the things that are going to come up, oh God. We thank you, oh now, right now, oh God, for the people, oh God, that you are putting, oh God, our names in the hearts of, oh God, to be our intercessors and our prayer warriors, oh God, people that are praying for us that we don't even know about, oh God. We thank you, oh God, for deliverances, oh God, and freedom that is going to come through this process, oh God, of just letting patience have its perfect work, of just letting our faith, oh God, do what you've designed it to do. We thank you, oh God, for the freedom of our hearts. We thank you, oh God, that you're restoring our joy and our peace, oh God. Some of us, oh God, have been struggling with, oh God, not being able to walk in joy and peace in our service, joy and peace in our family, in our day-to-day living, joy and peace on our jobs, in our business, in our particular circumstance. Some of us are walking into new blessings with no joy and no peace because we got all these things on our mind. We thank you, oh God, that you're restoring our peace and joy as you are perfecting us. Thank you for taking away the anxiety. Thank you for taking away the overwhelm. Thank you for taking away the competition and the comparison that tells us where we need to be. Thank you, oh God, for reminding us that we are in process. Thank you, oh God, for ordering our steps in our particular journey. God, we thank you for the blinders that you're putting on our eyes. We thank you, oh God, for the closed doors, oh God, the areas that we're not supposed to be going into. We thank you, oh God, for purging, oh God, our tree so that it brings forth more of the right fruit. Thank you for the pruning. Thank you, oh God, for the shifting that you're doing in our lives, God. We are grateful for it, God. We appreciate it, God, and we submit to it. Our faith and our obedience is an act of worship today, God. So we believe in you, God, as an act of our worship, God. We are obeying. We're submitting ourselves to you, God, as an act of reverence and worship, God. We're not just giving you lip service, God, but we're offering you, oh God, up the fruit, God, of our obedience, the fruit of our submission, oh God, to your will and to your way and to your plan, God. We trust you, oh God, when we can't see what you're doing. We trust your character when what's happening around us don't feel like it's in alignment. We trust that your word says that all things are working for our good. We trust that the thoughts that you think towards us are good to bring us to an expected end. We trust, oh God, that the process is for our good. We trust, oh God, that you're refining us. We trust that you're purifying. We trust that you are purging. We trust that you're taking out the things that will not serve us in this next season, God. That you're making us aware of our proclivities and our inclinations, that those things don't catch us off guard, oh God, when you take us into the blessed place. We thank you, oh God, for showing us the things that we didn't even know about ourselves. Thank you, oh God, for removing the blinders of self-righteousness, the blinders of oh God, holiness, where we see ourselves through a lens that is not accurate. Let us see ourselves the way you see us, both good, oh God, and in the ugly places, God. God, and we ask that you would clean us up, God, and make us, oh God, fit for use in your kingdom, God. Clean us up and make us fit for use in your kingdom, God. We thank you for it, and we count it as done in your mighty Son's name. Amen. I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for being a part of this. For those of you that are not on the text list, we send a text every morning. The information is in the description, but I will also share it here. To join the text list, we send out a text every morning with the prayer point and the scripture reference and the scripture focus. It goes out every single morning. Join it. If you don't, you could just set your notification for the lives. Paula, retext again, just JOY to that number. and see if it comes through, because I can't see all the names. So when you send a text, you can get a text back that says, give me your name so I can add your name to the list, because I'm not sure all of who is there. But just redo it again. If you text it, some people put the quotes around it. Some people put joy exclamation points, just JOY, nothing else around it. So just those 3 letters to that number, and it should join you. If it doesn't, girl, you got my number. Just text me and I'll try to add you in. Okay? I hope you guys are being blessed. I hope you guys are being strengthened and encouraged. I am strengthened and encouraged when I do these. Every single morning, God is helping me more. I was feeling picked on for a while, but now I just feel like a daughter. Like, I feel like he got me under his arm. And he's talking to me and telling me the things and showing me stuff about myself. And I'm sitting on my couch and I'm getting my little feelings together, right? But God is really helping me. I hope that he's helping you. Helping us. Because we got work to do. We got things to do. Because, Shauna, there's so much that God has for you. There's so much that God has for you even in this season. And I really believe if you would release the controls. Release the controls. Release all of the stuff that you have built up around yourself. Release the idea that the things make you more valuable. Release the idea that you have to be that person in the room. If you release all of that, there's so much that God wants to do through you. There's so many people that God wants to bless. You are a connector of people. You don't meet a stranger. There's so much of that in you. But what holds you is the perception of what everybody else is thinking, right? And how you feel like you have to show up to be credible, to be valuable. Kashana Palmer is valuable, period. Without all the accoutrements, the other stuff is just dressing. It's just extra stuff, right? But without those things, you are a blessing. You are good, right? And I know that God really wants to use you in that way. So just let him do the stuff. Go through this particular season. Just go through it. Just go through it. Just process it. Just go through it. You will be fine. All will be well. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. Yes, if you have to go back and catch the replay, please do that. I'm going to share with y'all. I spoke about faith at a service in January. I'm going to reshare that. I actually will text the link to the text thing. If you have time to just play it in the background, I go back and watch it. It's something that God showed me. And it's not because it's me, but it's really because it helps me. I literally go back and watch it and be like, God, help me with that reminder about faith. So if you want the replay of that thing, I'll go find the link for y'all. It's on somebody else's page, but I'll go find the link and share it via the text list. So if you want to just say yes, and I'll send it. I don't want to text y'all stuff y'all don't want. But Kashana Palmer is valuable. If y'all can write that in the chat for me, Kashana Palmer is valuable. I want to remind her today that she is uber valuable. And then also write, you are valuable. Your name, you are valuable. You are necessary. You are necessary to the kingdom. You are absolutely necessary to what God is doing. Not that God needs you, but what he's put on you, he needs. What he's put in you, he needs. So what kind of God, right, do we serve that puts a treasure in us? And then says, because of the treasure I put in you, right, you're valuable to me. So now I'm going to make you good for the treasure. It's like, I'm going to give you something of value. And then because you got that thing of value that I gave you, now I'm going to make sure that you're good because you're holding this thing of value. Like, what kind of God is that? Right? What kind of God do we serve? Each one of us is so necessary to what God has given. He has given us necessity. He has given us relevance on our jobs, in our environments, right? Each of you, mostly all of you, have spoken something into my life at a time that I needed it, right? I remember Carmen one time, there's another Carmen, not Carmen Dixon, there's another Carmen that one time had shared something about grief, and she was saying sometimes grief feels like you are mourning the loss of what you thought your life was going to be. I had never processed that. So I was like, why am I sad about this and that? You guys have shared things. Cynthia, you grew up with my sister. Her and my sister were friends. So when my sister passed away, she kind of sistered me in ways that she didn't know. I was watching her navigate her life and her marriage, her kid, her career, spoken encouragement. Like, all of you guys have really done stuff for me that you don't know. Paula, I used to work with Paula, and Paula used to come in and say things about me that I didn't see. My life was in a shambles when I was a supervisor. But she would always speak to the good in me, always talk about me in a valuable way. Y'all don't know how y'all are a blessing, right? Carmen comes on every morning. Dixon, she's engaging in the chat. That encourages me. Ty, like, all of you all have in some kind of way. I don't want to call naming names, so I'm going to leave somebody out. But I can think through this list of people. Tanea, different ones, like I'm seeing you guys. Today I asked Tanae, said you should try this, and she tried it. Even the trusting me part to do a thing that I recommended, that builds me up. Like all those things mean so much. So I don't think that y'all know. Ty's on here encouraging, DMing, reminding me. Like I love and appreciate y'all. So I want y'all to remember we are all so valuable to the kingdom. Right? So I love y'all. Y'all have a dope day. We was on here for an hour. That was not my intention. But we're going to get off of this. And again, I'm going to send the replay of the thing on Faith. It was really like a breakdown that I did on Hebrews 11. God really blessed me in it. So I'm going to share it with y'all on the text list. So I love y'all. If you haven't joined it, go ahead and join it, right? If you're joining it, right, join in the chat. And I will see y'all. I love y'all. Have a happy Monday, a good start to your week. And remember, count it all joy.